Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're unpacking something truly fascinating, a philosophical framework from a spiritual text by Chu Feng titled A Prayer for Those Suffering from Illnesses. What makes this text so incredibly compelling is how it takes human consciousness, physical health, and this grand, sweeping utopian vision and weaves them all into one bold belief system. It literally asks us to completely rethink the relationship between our minds and the reality we live in.
All right, let's just dive right into this quote, because it perfectly sets up the core thesis. Minds are the most important of the three realms, and consciousness is the most important of all rules. The author isn't just talking about the power of positive thinking here. They're laying down a hard and fast metaphysical rule. This framework argues that human consciousness is the ultimate architect of our physical reality. According to this text, your mind isn't just reacting to the outside world, it's the primary engine actually creating it.
So that brings us to a pretty provocative question. Think about this for a second. What if your physical illnesses and all of life's hurdles were entirely the product of your own consciousness? The text challenges us to look at human suffering, whether it's a physical ailment or a massive life obstacle, not as random bad luck or just biology, but as a direct manifestation of our mindset. It's a radical shift. It moves you completely away from being a victim of circumstance and says, hey, your internal state is the actual cause of your external hardship.
Section 1. The Root of Human Suffering.
The author actually starts this whole prayer from a place of deep physical and circumstantial pain, blaming these struggles on what the text calls wrong consciousness. We're talking about things like resenting society, blaming other people, and we all know someone like this, right? Stubbornly believing that you are always right. Well, the text posits a strict, uncompromising cause and effect relationship here. Harboring that kind of negativity, the inevitable consequence is physical sickness and a miserable life. It explicitly states that you can't pass the buck to heaven, earth, or society. The sole culprit is your own mentality.
Moving on to Section 2. The Natural Law of Attraction.
To explain exactly how our mindsets magnetically attract our reality, the author looks to the natural world, and the prayer uses these really beautiful, intuitive pairings to make its case. Think about it. Fragrances naturally attract butterflies, trees attract birds, and water provides the exact right environment for fish. The text argues that your mentality works the exact same way. It's a literal law of attraction. You absolutely cannot attract a butterfly without the right scent, and you can't attract a healthy, vibrant life without the corresponding mental environment.
So, applying this to human emotions is pretty intense. Anger, jealousy, aggression, greed, they are framed as powerful, literal magnets for tragedy and disease. They create this toxic internal environment that just pulls in negative external circumstances. But flip that around. Optimism, peace, a clear consciousness. The text promises that these positive mindsets practically invite miraculous recoveries and a beautiful life. That shift in mindset is the exact trigger for the miracle.
Section 3. Defining the Divine.
Now, this mental shift doesn't just happen in a vacuum. We have to look at the specific higher power the author is addressing here, the almighty ancestor of Buddha, the greatest creator. It's a truly fascinating syncretic term. The text portrays this singular divine master as the source of all life and the provider of the living water you need for health. Throughout the prayer, there's this incredible blending of concepts. It references the Tao, attaining a heart of Buddhi, and karma, but then it addresses a creator God and even ends the prayer with Amen. It's a deeply inclusive spiritual architecture meant to represent one ultimate truth governing the universe.
Which brings us to Section 4, the prescription for healing.
This is where we go from grand theology to practical, everyday application. How do you actually get from a state of suffering to total healing? Well, it takes serious personal agency. Step 1, stop the negative outputs immediately. No more anger, no more resentment. Step 2, start dealing with people positively. Step 3, broaden your internal scope and cultivate a generous, open mind. And Step 4, pursue perfection, just bit by bit. The author is showing us that submitting to the divine has to be paired with this active, progressive transformation of how you treat others and, honestly, how you treat yourself.
And finally, Section 5, Visions of a Utopian Future.
So where does this disciplined journey take you? The author claims that by adopting this purified consciousness, believers literally step closer to these incredible, vividly named celestial realms, the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, and the Elysium Islands. The text describes these places as having enchanting, radiant, and unending spring days. It's this wondrous promise of ultimate environmental perfection that perfectly mirrors your ultimate internal perfection.
In this future reality, all earthly suffering is just gone. Look at what's missing here. There is no fighting, no aging, no illness, no death. Zero fear. In their place, absolute joy, flowers, freedom, and shared abundance. But actually, my absolute favorite detail about this utopia is how it handles ownership. The text describes a society where nobody possesses anything, yet everyone owns everything. It's a vision of shared abundance that completely wipes out the greed and jealousy that the text earlier identified as the root of human sickness. Pretty wild, right?
As the prayer wraps up, it shifts into this incredibly poetic state of spiritual harmony. My heart is Bodhi, my roots are deep, my leaves are lush, I am free and at ease. It illustrates this total shedding of earthly anxiety, inverted dreams and fear, replacing it all with a full embrace of divine light. The speaker isn't striving anymore. They've become a reflection of nature, deeply rooted, lush, and completely at ease in the universe.
To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought. Regardless of your personal spiritual beliefs, this text poses a massive psychological challenge. If your consciousness really is the architect of your reality, what kind of world and what kind of health is your mindset building today? It's definitely something worth reflecting on. Thank you so much for joining us to explore this incredible architecture of belief.